Now, having said all of that, let's now get down to business. It's now 7:06, and I want to get down to business with you. So, let's talk first about this idea of mastering boredom. When we're trained particularly in America, to be bored and to despise the idea of boredom. And what happens is we're in a constant need to be entertained by something. So we want the quick clips. This is why your TikToks and your Vines and all of those things are entertaining to us, because they give us a quick clip. They get right to the point. They entertain us. They take us away from our misery. They do whatever they have to do to keep us entertained. And we become accustomed to that. So much accustomed to that anything that takes a long time to do, that requires commitment, isn't exciting, we view as being boredom. So once again, if we're asking you to read research literature, and all of your professors want you to be steeped in the literature, if we're asking you to do this, then you've got to figure out and navigate how you deal with the fact that it could actually be boring. To read 30, 40 articles, 30 pages of pop, that could be boring to you. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be done. And I want to make that clear. I'm not calling research boring. But it may be boring to you if you live in a world where you constantly have to be entertained by something. If everything has to be your sweet 16th birthday, if everything has to be the Super Bowl, if everything has to be a surprise birthday party for you, then asking you to sit and read and discipline yourself to read these articles and become knowledgeable about the literature may appear to be boring. Now, there's several things I want you to think about when it comes to mastering boredom, though. The first thing is you have the idea of conquering the non-exciting, repetitive task of one's craft. I'll say that again. Conquering the non-exciting, repetitive task of your craft. In order to become good in your craft, to become knowledgeable in your craft, you have to conquer those non-exciting, repetitive tasks that you have to do. That stands between being good at something and knowing a little bit of everything. See, what happens is this. When people experience boredom, it's really a test of you. When you experience boredom, you will either continue through it and master understanding that this is something you have to do, or you'll move to the next most exciting thing. And if you fail to conquer boredom, you'll never be good at one thing. You'll spend your life kind of hopping to the next thing, almost like being on a monkey bars. You'll just monkey bar to the next thing. When it gets boring, you'll go to the next thing, and you'll continue this thing throughout your life and never really get good at anything. But if you study people who have achieved greatness, if you study people who have achieved or have self-actualized into these things, what you will discover is they spend an intense amount of time mastering the small things, mastering the things that seem boring to everyone else. People love basketball, but they don't love shooting 1,000 free throws a day or 1,000 jump shots a day from the same spot. People love the excitement that they see when Steph Curry hits a jump shot, but they don't love the practice and repetitiveness of making sure that shot arcs correctly, make sure your spotting is good, make sure your eyes are where they're supposed to be. Everything that he does to become who he is, we don't want to do. You have to conquer those non-exciting things, the things you have to do over and over and over again to get good at your task. You don't become a Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer without mastering putting 1,000 times. You just don't do it. You don't become great at these things. So what I want you to consider is that in order to become good at something, you have to conquer those non-exciting, repetitive tasks. that are part of everything that you have to do to be a great at your task. Now, the second thing you need to do in mastering boredom is accept that becoming a specialist at something requires hours and hours of repetition at the small things. And you just learn to stack the repetition of small things on top of one another until they become a big thing. But the more attempts at small tasks, you create a routine in your brain where your brain begins to mold to the activity. So when you can walk around your house at night without turning the lights on and not bump into things, it's because you have mastered the routine of your whereabouts of your home. You've been around it enough to where movement and navigation you can do without thinking. So the better you become at things, the more it becomes a routine in your brain as you master these small tasks over and over and over again. And what that allows for is it allows for you to move, navigate, practice, and become great at your tasks and normalize it to where it becomes automatic. If you watch a great quarterback of their time, they almost move away from defenders without looking at the defender because they can sense where they are. They see the game so well because they've done this over and over and over and over again that they're able to get in what we call the zone. You will often hear Michael Jordan talk about the zone, where it seems like the basket is this big and everything is in slow motion. It's regular speed for you and I. It's slow motion for him because he can think in between all of these things and then make the move. Same thing with LeBron James. Same thing with all of the greats of anybody who become great at their task. What they experience is a brain alignment where everything kind of works and they get into this zone. And what do we mean by the zone? That's the third thing. What is meant by being in the zone is a period where time doesn't matter. It's a period where everything slows down and you'll be able to move and process things naturally. It's a moment when you can actually think through things without having to think. You almost operate like a muscle memory repetitively in order to become good at this task. This is only achieved when routine is set and tasks are repeated. You don't get this doing it one or two times. You don't learn the piano playing one or two notes. You've got to bang on your craft every single day, all the time, never giving up, understanding that this is the process by which you become great. So that is mastering boredom, is conquering the non-exciting repetitive task of your craft. It is accepting that becoming a specialist as something requires hours of repetition at the small aspects. And it is to be in the zone, to get to that point where time slows down and you are still able to operate without even thinking. That is mastering boredom. And in order to be good at the craft that you are studying, you've got to master this boredom. There is no way around it.